Lawyers for the family of Tamir Rice said today they're, quote, cautiously optimistic about a decision by Cleveland Mayor Frank Jackson to change who has jurisdiction over the investigation into the shooting death of 12-year-old Rice by Cleveland police. Jackson announced Friday the Cleveland Police Department, which had been investigating with help from the state, is now handing the case over to the Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Department.
We are cautiously optimistic that it will be a thorough, fair investigation into the death of Tamir Rice. And we sincerely hope that it answers some questions that these parents have about the untimely death of their child.
Tamir Rice was shot in a public park on November 22nd by police responding to a call of a person pointing a gun. The child had a non-lethal pellet gun, and while a 911 caller told dispatchers the gun they saw was, quote, probably fake, that characterization was reportedly not passed on to the responding officers. And the entire thing was captured on surveillance tape, which you see here. And the tape at times seems to tell a very different story than the initial account of the Cleveland police. For example, while police said the officer saw a few people sitting under the pavilion where Rice was playing, the tape clearly shows him sitting there by himself. There he is at the table shortly before police arrived. Police have said the 12-year-old was ordered 3 times to show his hands. The video shows one of the officers firing at Tamir within 2 seconds of pulling up in a patrol car. Now, that doesn't contradict the claim from police. They say the commands were given as they drove onto the scene. But it certainly doesn't look like 12-year-old Tamir Rice had a lot of time to comply before he was shot dead. It also emerged later the officer who fired those shots, Timothy Lohman, had been deemed unfit for duty in 2012 by a small suburban police department where he'd worked previously. According to the Northeast Ohio Media Group, Cleveland Mayor Frank Jackson said he asked the county to take over the investigation of Rice's shooting because he lacks confidence in Ohio's State Attorney General Mike DeWine to handle it fairly. Jackson specifically cited DeWine's investigation of another case, this one back in 2012, in which a police chase ended in the fatal shooting of an unarmed couple. The mayor criticized DeWine at the time for failing to uphold due process in that investigation, and like the Tamir Rice case, that investigation was also ultimately handed over to the Cuyahoga County prosecutor, who did successfully obtain grand jury indictments for 6 of the officers involved. At their press conference today, the Rice family reiterated their calls for justice for their son, while their lawyers questioned what investigators had accomplished in 6 weeks and 3 days since he was killed.
We also, as part of this new investigation or the transfer of this investigation, want to know what has been done in those 6 weeks and 3 days. And in the spirit of transparency, on the heels of all of these grand jury decisions that have disappointed the nation, I believe this family is entitled to an answer.
Joining me now is Walter Madison, attorney for the family of Tamir Rice. Mr. Madison, I have to say I am a little confused by all this jurisdictionally. What is going on? You have the shooting. There has been, my understanding, a Cleveland police investigation in tandem with some investigators from the State of Ohio Attorney's General Office. Is that correct?
That's not correct in this particular instance. That occurred before. What you have here is the Tamir Rice incident occurring November 22nd, and we got 6 weeks and 3 days. And that inaction is the thing that breeds the doubt and fear in the minds of the Rice family. And we simply think that in the spirit of transparency, there ought to be some answers to what has actually occurred.
So when you say inaction, though, does that, I mean, what has been going on in this month plus? I mean, what is your understanding? Has the Cleveland police been collecting evidence? Have they interviewed the 2 police officers in some sort of formal setting? What actually is the status of an investigation such that it exists?
Well, that's an excellent question, and I think that someone from the city should answer. We have no idea what has been done or not done in 6 weeks and 3 days. I can't imagine a scenario where anyone would need 6 weeks and 3 days, again, to make a decision that we're not the proper individuals to be investigating this case, in particular when the city acknowledged in 2012, from that day forward, all use of deadly force investigations will be handled by an outside agency. So they set the framework up for 2 years ago. I don't understand how it would take the amount of time we've had since November 2nd to take some action.
So I should also say that this is a police department recently cited by the Department of Justice for sort of systematic bias in many ways, a lot of really disconcerting revelations in that report, including, and I'm reading here, deeply troubling to us was that some of the specially trained investigators who were charged with conducting unbiased review of officers' use of deadly force admitted to us they conduct their investigations with the goal of casting the accused officer in the most positive light possible. That's reading from a DOJ report on the Cleveland Police Department. So do you have faith in the new entity, the Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Department, that is now going to be taking over this investigation?
My faith is not an issue. What's an issue is showing and proving at this particular time. The patternistic behavior in general is not my business. That's the police department's business to manage. But when that patternistic behavior affects the life of of Tamir Rice, my family, the clients, their child, I think it becomes our business. And those questions and those issues that have been pointed out become very salient in the minds of the Rice family.
There's been obviously a lot of national attention on the various means by which these investigations are undertaken. Is the family's position that they believe there is sufficient evidence just based on the video for some kind of criminal charges here?
Any person in America will, if there's probable cause to say, or if you can answer the question, is it more or less likely a crime occurred here, they will be arrested. And they will have to go into the grand jury with the label of being the accused.
Right.
And that changes the complexity and the composition of a grand jury proceeding. When you're the accused, only you can waive your right to go to the grand jury, and more than likely, in 99% of the instances, you do not appear in the grand jury. So you're not able to walk in there and provide exculpatory information and testimony that's self-serving. When you're just a witness, because you haven't been accused,
right,
you are able to be presented to the grand jury at the discretion of the county prosecutor or the district attorney, depending on the jurisdiction, and you may say whatever it is that you can recall about the circumstances. So I don't expect any person to not have self-preservation in mind first and foremost, but I think the label of being the accused is the one safeguard that differentiates these police deadly force cases with police officers from the civilian. And we just don't believe that the mechanism is fine, but the inputs in that fashion causes the breakdown.
Walter Madison, thank you very much. All right, it's a story that reads like the script to a Hollywood legal thriller. One of the most famous lawyers in America is defending himself after a woman claimed she was forced to have sex with him and others, including Britain's Prince Andrew, when she was 17 years old. That story's ahead.